If you want to call down endless lightning strikes and charging up your super at lightning speed, this Arc Titan build is the way to go. You'll get insane bolt charge regeneration, rapid fast barricades, and non-stop lightning strikes. You only need to use this exotic heavy machine gun, and the best part for this build is that you can freely choose any exotic armor piece you want. If you're not running this build, you're missing out on pure destruction. Before I go and explain everything about the build, let me first tell you what bolt charge really is. So whenever you gain stacks of bolt charges, it would grant you melee energy, and also as you accumulate these bolt charges and reach times 10 bolt charges, if you were to use your abilities, you would summon these powerful lightning strikes that deal the same equivalent damage to an ignition for solar. And if you want to produce bolt charges without you needing to be behind your rally barricade because of this aspect, which is Storm's Keep, all you would have to do is have at least one bolt charge and deal sustained damage with your weapons to generate those stacks of bolt charges. But in this case, we're mainly going to be using this exotic arc machine gun called the Thunderlord. There are two reasons why. The first one is that whenever you get kills with this weapon, it will generate stunning lightning strikes from above. So this is the main source for us to produce bolt charges, because on the second part, whenever you create those lightning strikes, it would grant you a stack of bolt charge. And the best part about this machine gun is this perk right here, which is lightning rounds. This is basically very powerful when it comes to you playing in Grandmaster Nightfalls, when it comes to dealing with champions or in raids. Because if you were to continuously hold the trigger on this machine gun, it will generate lightning strikes. So you can either one, get kills to summon the lightning strikes, or hold down the trigger on a high HP enemy. But if you would like to not reload on this machine gun, you're gonna have to go for the catalyst. It's kind of like 4th times the charm in a way, but instead of you getting precision hits, all you would have to do is deal lightning strikes, and once you do, it would partially reload the magazine from reserves. So what I would do basically is that whenever you're dealing with a boss or champion, I would continuously shoot them directly on their head to one, get increased damage because we're getting a crit, and also dealing those powerful lightning strikes. So here's the new aspect for Titan, and it's called Storm's Keep. Whenever you were to activate your class ability, so in this case for this build is Rally Barricade because of the base cooldown, and you also get other benefits as well, such as increased reload speed, stability, and range. And whenever you're behind the barricade, it would also draw hostile fire whenever you stand behind it. So basically taunts enemies in front of you, which will make them become more aggressive to you. So once you're behind your barricade, you would generate these bolt charges for you and your nearby allies. So whenever you're behind your barricade, you and your allies will gain stacks of bolt charges over time, and your weapons will discharge the maximum stacks of bolt charges. So once you reach times 10 bolt charges, hit the target with your weapon, and then that powerful lightning strike will hit them. The super you're going to want to put is Thunder Crash, because this super does a boatload of damage compared to Fist of Havoc. So if you want to produce tons of super energy for your Thunder Crash, you're going to need to use this seasonal artifact called Elemental Supercharger. Whenever you were to defeat an exhausted or severed target with weapons that match your super, it will grant you super energy. So in this case for us, we're going to be exhausting enemies. So in order for you to do that, you're going to need to have Overload. So in this build, the Thunderlord already has the Overload intrinsic already built into it. So all you would have to do is get kills with your Thunderlord, and you'll be producing super energy like crazy. The main reason why I chose to go for Rally Barricade because of the base cooldown, which is 38 seconds. And we can also decrease the cooldown even further when it comes to your stats. So your main stat for this build is Resilience, and you're gonna want to go for 100 Resilience just to reduce your class ability cooldown and also give you that 30% damage reduction. So instead of your base cooldown being 38 seconds, it is now going to be 22 seconds. And we are also going to be producing Ionic Traces as well. And there's two fragments that will do that. The first one is Spark of Ions. Whenever defeating a jolted target or defeating a target with a bolt charge, it will create an Ionic Trace. So the bolt charges will come for our Storm's Keep and with our Thunderlord, and for the jolting part will come from this Arc Auto Rifle that has Jolting Feedback. And here's what Jolting Feedback does. Whenever you were to deal repeated damage on an enemy, it will inflict jolts on them. And if you're amplified, jolts will be applied faster. We are going to be getting our class ability extremely fast, so you don't really need to put Strategist, but I just did it because you never know. Because Strategist, whenever you get kills with this weapon, it will grant you class ability energy, and whenever you activate your class ability, it would improve your stability. And for the weapon mod, I went for Heavy Ammo Finder Enhancement just to give me more heavy ammo for the Thunderlord. What I really like about this auto rifle is the origin trait called Braid Legacy. Whenever you deal damage with this weapon, it would generate a small amount of ability energy for the one closest to a full charge. So let's just say you were to use all of your abilities and your class ability is the one closest to being ready. Your auto rifle, whenever you deal damage to an enemy, will prioritize in that rally barricade and will give you a little bit more ability energy for that rally barricade because it's close to be activated. The second fragment you would need to go for is Spark of Discharge. Your arc weapon final blows will have a chance to create an Ionic trace, and also whenever you collect an Ionic trace, you would gain a stack of bolt charges. But sadly, you'll get minus 10 strength. This auto rifle also produces bolt charges as well because of jolting feedback, and also in the artifacts called Dielectric. Defeating arc debuffed targets will grant a bolt charge. So that debuffed enemy would be Jolt or Blind, but in this case, Jolt. The main fragment you're going to want to put when it comes to producing even more bolt charges is Spark of Frequency. While you're amplified, you gain increased stacks of bolt charges from all sources, and in order for you to become amplified for this build is by getting this seasonal artifact, Flashover. Whenever you gain maximum stacks of bolt charges, it would make you amplified and your lightning bolts will deal more damage. So instead of you producing ×1 bolt charges, you're now going to be producing ×2 bolt charges, and that could be from any source. And this fragment will also increase your reload speed whenever you were to get a melee hit, and it would also increase your stability. And the melee we are using is Thunderclap because out of the other two, it's pretty meh, but Thunderclap deals a lot of damage as long as you're holding down on your melee button. But if you do want to produce even more bolt charges, you can go for Ballistic Slam because you gain a bolt charge based on the number of targets hit by the Ballistic Slam. But I went for Thunderclap because of the exotic helmet because of its buff. It did get a buff this episode, so whenever you get final blows with arc melee, it will trigger health regeneration and fully restore a melee charge. Melee hits grant arc melee energy. So what they did is the second part, that's what they added. So let's just say you're dealing with a champion and you were to use your Thunderclap or any melee ability and you were to hit him instead of kill him. Instead of it depleting all of your melee energy, it would refund some of its melee energy back. But what I said in the beginning of the video, you can freely choose any exotic armor piece you like. And I also got another one for you to pick. But if you really care about dealing high damage with your Thunder Crash, go for this one because if you were to get melee final blows while amplified, it will grant you super energy, and it would also greatly increase your Thunder Crash damage and grant you a damage resist after you're done using your Thunder Crash. I also got another option for you when it comes to the exotic armor piece. You can go for this one, which will increase your rocket damage even further whenever you activate your rally barricade. And in this build, I am using the rocket sidearm just to stun every single champion in the game because of choke clip, and also the piercing sidearm in the seasonal artifacts. But for this build, I went for this exotic helmet. The final fragment you're going to want to put is Spark of Resistance for more survivability. So whenever you're surrounded by 3 or more enemies, it will give you a plus 25% damage resist. And once we are amplified, it would give you an extra plus 15% damage resist as well. The second aspect you're going to want to put when it comes to your melee is Knockout because it would, one, increase your melee range and damage if you were to break the enemy shields or whenever you're critically wounded. And if you were to defeat targets with your melee attacks as you are amplified, it would restore a portion of your health. If you were to defeat powerful enemies, it would increase the amount of health you get. If you like to look at all of the armor mods I was using for this build, you can freely do so here. If you like to copy it from mod to mod, go for it. Or if you like to change it up a bit, go for it as well. You can freely change it up as you please.